morning one and all. Today we are discussing about Applied Geotechnical Engineering Module 1 Lecture Series 6 for 6th semester students. Today's our discussion in soil exploration is electrical resistivity method and also number as well as depth of boreholes required for conduction of soil exploration. Electrical resistivity method. This method is also called as a earth resistivity method. This method is based on mean resistivity and or apparent specific resistance of various subsoil strata, and it is an indirect method of assessing the behavior of the soil. The different soil strata offers different electrical resistivity, and this again varies with the moisture content. That means if you have soil fully saturated in the same soil strata, the electrical resistivity will be different. If a soil is fully dry during summer season, its electrical resistivity is different. Soil is partially saturated, whose electrical resistivity is different. Now, in order to conduct the electrical resistivity test, 4 electrodes are used. Those 4 electrodes are here. So, electrode 1, electrode 2, electrode 3 and electrode 4. The outer 2 electrodes, electrode 1 and electrode 4, are connected to battery and millimeter, whereas the electrode 2 and electrode 3 is connected through potentiometer. The spacing between the electrode 1 to electrode 2, electrode 2 to electrode 3, electrode 3 to electrode 4 is kept constant. That is the D in meters. So now let us discuss how to conduct the test. Suppose you have a soil profile where you have to do electrical resistivity test. First, remove the top vegetation, level the ground up to the test location from here to here. Then divide that entire length into 3 equal parts. At first point, by using electrode with the help of hammer, insert it, and at last point, again with the help of a hammer with an electrode, insert it such that the pointed end will penetrate into the ground at least to a height of 50% of its length. Whatever the distance is there between center to center of these two extreme electrodes, divide that into 3, insert it, one at the second and third next one at the very to the extreme end as shown in the figure. Outer electrode is connected by a battery arrangement, and amount of power supply that we are playing in the outer electrode is through milliammeter in amps. Okay. Now, when we supply the electricity to the outer electrode, this circuit is not a closed circuit as per our diagrams, but when you consider the soil here, the soil is a good conductor of electricity. That is the reason during rainy season, if you have electric poles, especially iron pole, olden days they are using, so near to the iron poles, the elders used to say, don't go near to the iron poles during rainy season because there will be a short circuit. Why? The grounding will take place surrounding that electric pole. They are insisting us don't go there. The reason is the earth is the good conductor of electricity. So now when we apply the power supply in outer electrode, as earth is the good conductor of electricity, power passes through the soil particle to reach from one end to another end, from this end to this end. During the process of its electric charges movement, because of the infusion of two more electrodes and the inner circle, so there will be some electricity movement take place here, and that electricity movement will be recorded in the form of potential drop, that is in the form of potentiometer reading. Okay, so now by knowing how much amount of power supply we are done and what is the potentiometer reading, we are assessing the behavior of the soil. So the mean resistivity of a ground is given by rho is equal to 2 pi d E by I or 2 pi dr, where rho is called as a mean resistivity in ohms centimeter, d is electrode spacing in centimeter, E is potential difference between inner electrode in volts, and I is the current flowing between the outer electrode in amps. The E by I, the value of E by I can also be written as R, where R is called as a resistivity in ohms. So now for one particular soil, we will come to know what is the mean resistivity. Then how to know the behavior of the soil is the next question. The supplier of this instrument has done a innumerous number of tests, and he has come out with a chart, or standard charts are available in all leading textbooks. That chart or that table clearly indicates that the resistivity in one column, resistivity means ohm centimeter values in one column, corresponding to that type of soil in the another column. So by knowing the value whatever we got it in the field, and by comparing that value in the table which is supplied by the manufacturer of that instrument, or by referring with the standard textbooks, we can decide what is the range of it at which our value is fixed, what is the upper and lower bound values within which we got this resistivity value. By knowing the resistivity value, we can assess what type of soil it is. Okay. So second thing is, so there is one more table which indicates resistivity value versus density. So if you get a resistivity in this range 0 to 100, the density is so much. If you get 3000 to 5000, so the resistivity is more, means the soil is thick soil, so the density is this much. Likewise, we will get a chart. From that chart also we can able to extract what may be the soil property. This is about your mean resistivity test and its results. Coming to the limitation of the resistivity method. So this method will have its own limitation, because whenever water table is encountered, so then this table will give a misleading results based on the field mean resistivity value. That means to say, whatever value that we obtain from the mean resistivity in the field, that may not be correct one. So that is the one more drawback. Second drawback is, whenever rocky strata is encountered, This resistivity value will not reflect the presence of rocky strata below the soil strata. That is the next limitation of resistivity method. So coming to the number and depth of borings for buildings and dams. So before going to the number and depth of borings, whatever structure that we are constructed, when we apply the load on the structure, the load will transfer onto the soil up to certain depth and up to certain radius from the center line of the applied load. So the depth and up to certain radius from the center line of the load is called as a significant depth and significant zone respectively. So significant depth means it is the depth up to which the variation of the soil strata on application of load will be considered for design of any civil engineering structure. Beyond that depth, the soil will not have any influence, or I can say much influence, due to the application of structural load. So for example, if I am applying a 500 kilonewton load, means its influence may be 2 meter depth. Beyond 2 meter, no stress may be passing to the ground. So when we are doing the soil exploration, first thing we have to keep it in mind is what is the depth up to which we have to make a borehole. Because if I just simply do a borehole for 30 meter depth, it does not have any influence, because your significant depth may ends at 5 meter. If you are doing 6 meter depth soil exploration, means then there is no use of that depth, and it is increases the cost of soil exploration. Therefore, we have to judge, we have to assess, we have to evaluate what is the depth up to which the influence of soil, so due to structural load, is there. And second thing is, how many number of samples we have to collect in the site is important. Can I collect in 30-40 sites some 50 samples? Can I collect in a layout some 10 samples? No, it depending on some heuristic or guidelines that we have to keep it in mind. Now we will go one by one. So the number and depth of borehole is for building how much, for dam is how much, for roads and cuts are how much, retaining wall is how much, borrow pit area is how much, that we have to decide. Okay, so have you understood, students? Now coming to the building foundation, if it is a shallow foundation, if the width of the footing is B, then the significant depth will be 1.5 to 2 times B. Suppose DF is the depth of the foundation, B is the width of the foundation, then soil exploration should be done up to a depth of D plus 1.5 times B or 2 times B. For example, DF plus 2B will be the total depth up to which soil sample is to be collected. That is about your depth of soil collection for shallow foundation. Coming to the number of boreholes, as per the that is a geotechnical investigation previous reports and the International Society of Soil Mechanics and Foundation Engineering guidelines, we have to do 0.4 hectare one borehole we have to dig. And also, if it is a small structure, if this is a 30-40 site, means at 4 corners we have to do one borehole, and at the center we have to do one more borehole. From these 5 boreholes, if you feel that erratic soil deposits are there, variation of soil is very high, then you have to go for additional borehole. This is about shallow foundation. Coming to the deep foundation, so the depth of the borehole will be 10 to 30 meter depth minimum, or until we get hard bearing strata, we have to do soil exploration. So that is depth. And number of boreholes, if you are a pile foundation, if you have some 10 piles, that 10 piles are covered by a pile cap, then depth of foundation is the width of the pile cap you have to measure. 1.5 times the width of the pile cap will be your depth of the soil exploration. So if it is a single pile, 10 meter to 30 meter. If it is a group of piles, it is 1.5 times the B will be the depth of foundation. The number of boreholes, as I said earlier, 0.4 hectare, one borehole if you have to do it. It is at least you have to do one such a type. Next, dam site. If you come to this dam site, if this is the dam site means, so you will have one abutment is here and one abutment is here. So suppose if I consider this as a dam, so one abutment will be here, one abutment will be here. So two boreholes at one abutment, another two boreholes and another abutment. Between these two abutments, minimum 5 boreholes we have to do it. Suppose this is a dam, and this is your upstream side of the dam, and this is your downstream side of the dam. On the upstream side of the dam, at every 10 meter interval, one boreholes we have to do initially. Or if it is a huge dam, at every 100 meter interval, one borehole we have to do for primary boring. And detailed exploration, at every 10 meter interval we have to do one borehole. At downstream side of the dam, depending on type of the canal proposing, waste we are proposing, at every 100 meter or 500 meter, one borehole is necessary. Next, what is the depth of the borehole? If the reservoir which we are planning in that place after construction of a dam is for storing the water, then full depth we have to do soil exploration. Next, roads, cuts and fills. At straight stretch, every 5 meter interval, one borehole we have to do. At curved stretch, at every 30 meter interval or every 100 meter intervals we have to do one borehole. In case of depth, a minimum depth of borehole will be 1 meter below the existing ground level. Coming to the retaining wall. The retaining wall is a structure which retains the soil as a backfill material. In case of retaining wall, whatever width of the retaining wall is there, 1.5 times the width will be depth of the borehole. Number of borehole is same as that as 0.4 hectare, one borehole we have to do it. Coming to the borrow pit area. What is meant by borrow pit area? It is a place where collection of soil will be done for construction of a dam or using that soil for the subgrade preparation in roads or filling in the low-lying area, etc. If you have a low-lying area, if you want to fill, you can use it. If you want to make a road, you can use it. If you want to construct an embankment, so you can use that soil. So that soil is called as a borrow pit soil. Initially, whether the soil is suitable for example, damming, shell material or core material, or low-lying area, if watertight one means if it is an impermeable soil, etc. For checking that, every 300 meter, one borehole should be done in the entire area. Once it seems that it can be usable for that our project means at every 100 meter interval, so to every 30 meter interval, one borehole we have to do it. Depth of the borehole generally is equal to depth up to which we are planning to excavate the soil, so that will be the depth of the borehole. So next is, what are the factors that influence the lateral extent and depth of soil exploration? The lateral extent, depending on degree of variation of subsoil strata in both horizontal direction and in vertical direction, and also it depends on the type of the structure. Suppose if I am going for a small residential building, then the depth of borehole may be 1 meter, 2 meter or 3 meter is sufficient. If I am going for a multi-story building, the depth of borehole may be 10 meter or 30 meter in the same site. Loading intensity, if I am applying a load by keeping future helipad construction on the top of the apartment, then you have to go for hard until you get a hard bearing strata. If you are planning for some gym, so heavy loads has to be planned, then you have to go for a deeper depth, and the extent also you have to increase in horizontal direction. And if you are going for the manner of load application, some swimming pool you are constructing on top of the apartment, then definitely, so that water pressure you have to take into consideration accordingly, that lateral effect you should consider. So you have to extend your soil exploration in lateral direction. Next is soil profile. If you are getting a very good hard over consolidated soil, you can go for a less number of boreholes. If a soil is filled up soil, you have to go for a same site, more number of boreholes is required. If you are going for a watertight structure like reservoir construction, then you have to go for a more depth and more number of boreholes. If you are using soil for a shell material, it should be impermeable, so you have to go for a larger depth. If it is a core material, so it should be impermeable core material. Sorry, so larger depth you have to excavate. Shell material, permeable, should be less depth. If you are using for a filter material, sand, so less depth is sufficient. Likewise, various factors will come into picture. Coming to the multiple choice questions. Based on that today's discussion, I have formulated some of the multiple choice questions for easy understanding of the subject. Okay, and some other questions are uploaded in LMS portal. You please go through that. Okay. Some of the typical questions are: number 1, the earth resistivity method is based on the mean resistivity or the apparent specific resistance of a various subsoil strata. Whether this statement is true or false. The option is A, is true. The unit for earth resistivity is in ohm centimeter. Option A is true, option B is false. It is correct, therefore it is A. Different soil strata offer different electrical resistivity. As we said in the class, each soil will have its own electrical resistivity, therefore statement is correct, that is A. Electrical resistivity varying with the moisture content. Yes, it is correct, statement is A. To conduct a resistivity test, 2 electrodes, metal spikes are driven in the ground along the straight line in an equal distance. No, the statement is false. 4 electrodes are required. So to conduct the resistivity test, 4 electrodes are driven in the ground along the straight line. Yes, the statement is 4 electrodes are required. It's true. A. Option is A. In electrical resistivity method, a current of electricity is established between the 2 outer electrodes, and the difference of potential in 2 inner electrodes are measured. It is true. That is, option is A. In electrical resistivity method, current of electricity is established between the 2 inner electrodes, and the difference of potential will be measured in the 2 outer electrodes. It cannot be possible because within the confined electric circuit we have to measure the potential. Therefore, this statement is wrong. Therefore, it is false. B. Mean resistivity is given by 2 pi d E by I. Yes, it is true. The option is A. Mean resistivity can also be given by 2 pi d R, where R is E by I. Statement is true. Option is A. Likewise, you can expect more number of MCQ questions. These are all the some of the textbook and reference books I used for preparation of this material in order to upload in LMS portal. I take this opportunity to thank Department of Collegiate and Technical Education higher officers. They recognized me and they given an opportunity to deliver a lecture to LMS portal throughout Karnataka for our engineering college students. And also I take this opportunity to thank our students for listening this lecture. I request students to go through the LMS portal and watch the video, and if you have any doubt in MCQ question, feel free to ask. Thank you, students.